got a little helper with me today.
What's up guys, and welcome to my channel. Wow, it has been a long time since I sat down and filmed a video, probably like a year. So I did a poll on my Instagram a while back about what kind of video you guys would rather see. Either a video about how I afford to travel or a video about the military, and traveling won. So here we are today, finally filming that video. So I'm gonna split this video up into several different categories. So first I'm gonna kind of start with the lifestyle that I live and just how this allows me to travel. And then I'm going to talk about my different streams of income and just like how I get money to travel and how I afford to live the lifestyle that I do. And then I'm going to go over the different monthly payments that I have, just like different monthly expenses that I take into account when I'm planning my trips for the month. And then I'm going to go over the process of actually finding affordable ways to travel. So just the different ways that I find flights and just kind of like start to finish the process that I take when I'm planning a vacation. And then I'm going to talk about some different ways to save so that way you can find different ways to travel. And then lastly, I'm just going to talk about some of the trips that I've gone on over the past year and just kind of give you guys a price breakdown of all these trips so that way you guys have kind of an idea of how much it actually costs to travel, and that it's really not as expensive as people like to think. So throughout the year of 2019, I took about 18 or 19 different trips. So it was a little more than one trip a month. So it was definitely a really fun and busy year, and I'm just really thankful for the different opportunities that I've had this year, and I just want other people to have those same opportunities because it honestly is much more affordable to travel than people think. So that is why we are here making this video today. So first I'm going to start by talking about my lifestyle. So for those of you who don't know me or have never seen anything on my channel before, I am in the military. So being in the military is something that has really allowed me to travel, and I have gotten to take some trips while in the military. And then also the biggest thing that the military does for me in terms of money is school. I'm in the National Guard, so I'm not active duty, and the National Guard covers 100% of my tuition, and so I don't pay for college. So that is like the biggest thing. I know a lot of people my age aren't able to do this kind of stuff because paying for school like is a big expense, and I totally understand that. And so I'm just really lucky the situation that I'm in, that I am in the military and that they help me out as much as they do. And then along with that, I also get my GI Bill monthly. I live at home, I live with my parents still, so that definitely helps because I don't pay monthly rent, and so it kind of gives me the opportunity to use the money I would be using for rent to travel. The next biggest thing that definitely has a big impact, again for people my age, college. It's really hard for people to take trips because they have school and they have classes and work. I am an online student. I'm doing my bachelor's degree fully online, so that's awesome because whenever I'm taking my trips, I just pick out time throughout my vacations to do my homework, or I just do everything before I go. And then as far as work, I'm a waitress at a pizza place, and I've worked there for about 5 years now, and it's super flexible, so that definitely helps. And then I have drill for the military once a month, just like the first week of every month. And then I'm a photographer, so I have very flexible jobs that allow me to travel as much as I do. The next thing I'm going to kind of talk about is income. So I have several different streams of income, and when I'm not traveling, I work a ton just to save up money to go on these trips. So I know a lot of people are probably thinking like, oh yeah, I'm sure your parents pay for you to go on these trips. And for any of you guys who have met my parents, they are the most amazing people I have ever met, and they do absolutely everything for me, and I could not be more thankful for them. But they do not pay for my trips. I work really hard for the money that I have to be able to do the things that I want to do. So just wanted to throw that out there. And if you do have parents who do pay for you to go on these trips, that's awesome. Take advantage of it. So as far as my job, I get like a weekly paycheck, and then I also get tips. So it's a good system that I have is I use my tip money strictly for me. So that's like my spending money that I'll use for trips. I literally just have a little jar that I put all my cash in every week, and then my paychecks I put directly into my savings account. So all the money that I get from Pizza John's as far as like my hourly wage. I don't really count that as money for me to spend because I put that directly into my savings account. My biggest form of income is definitely photography. So I've been doing a lot of photo sessions like over the last 5 to 6 months, and then I've also started doing weddings. And so that makes a really big difference, and that's definitely my biggest stream of income right now. And it's really flexible, and I kind of get to pick and choose my schedule. And when I'm not taking trips, then whenever I'm home, I pretty much just spend all my time doing photo shoots. And then kind of like I said earlier, I get my GI Bill from the military. So same thing with all of that. I don't really count that as money that I'm making. I put that directly into my savings account. And then I also have monthly drill, so I get paid for that. Again, I don't really use that as money to spend. I put that directly into my savings account because I think that saving is really important. But I just bought a new car, so drill is probably gonna, that money is probably gonna start going towards my car payment. And then YouTube, that is also one of my streams of income, even though I've been kind of slacking this year. And then lastly, scholarships. So at my school, it's really nice. I just apply for as many scholarships as I can, and then all that money just goes back to me since my tuition's already paid for with the guard. And since I live at home, I just get to save all of that money. So definitely a lot going into my savings, and pretty much the only money that I use for me is my cash tips from Pizza John's and my photography money. So I have about 6 different streams of income, which is really nice, and it definitely helps because I can kind of allocate my money to different things. So that's really nice, just kind of figuring out like what your different streams of income are and kind of figuring out what you can put towards what. So next, my monthly payment. So my car payment, I subscribe to Crime Junkie. It's a podcast. I love crime podcasts so much. So that I pay $5 monthly to that. And then Music Bed, it's like a music subscription site for like YouTube and for like wedding videography and different stuff like that. So that's about $30 a month, and then I pay monthly to have a website for my photography, and then Apple Music, Netflix, and my phone, which I'm really lucky in that aspect because I'm on like a family plan for all of that. And so my parents are awesome and they pay for all of that. So I'm super thankful for them for that. Okay, so now we're gonna kind of get into what I do to find these affordable vacations. I have a bunch of notes written down so that way I wouldn't forget. The thing that I start with first is finding a flight. So I don't really have like specific locations in mind that I want to go. I honestly just kind of hop on Google Flights and I just kind of look at what the cheapest places to go are, and that's most of the time how I book my vacations. So I'll just use this trip for an example. In January, my boyfriend and I are going to California for 5 days, and we knew that we wanted to go somewhere, but we didn't really know where. Basically, you just put in whatever your airport is, and so I will always start with like the area that I live in, and then I'll go to some different surrounding areas. So it's really expensive to fly out of Wichita, where I'm from, and so a lot of the time I'll look from Kansas City, and then from there it'll just pull up some different suggested trips and just some different affordable places to fly. So I saw Los Angeles on there was only $133, so I looked at the different dates for that, but that's pretty much the process that I go through when I'm booking flights. Google Flights is like my favorite. I use that for pretty much everything. It's awesome because it'll just show you different cheap places to fly, and it'll show you several different airlines. So it has like Spirit Airlines, Delta, Frontier, United, American. So it's awesome. I love Google Flights. It is the best website in the whole universe. And then the other thing that is really nice is I don't really understand how to do it as much on my phone because I usually do it on my computer, but you can click on this little calendar that's right next to the dates. I thought I say that and now it's not working. Okay, anyways, but usually you can click right there and you can just click flexible dates. Okay, I want to go to Europe sometime in the next 6 months, and this is how I booked my trip to Europe for $450 from Kansas. I literally just put trips to Europe in the next 6 months from Wichita, and like Frankfurt, Germany popped up, and all these different places popped up with different dates, and then I just found dates that worked for me. So having like a really open schedule helps because I basically can just fly whenever it's the cheapest to go. After I find a flight on Google Flights, I'll go to that specific airline website and see if it's cheaper booking directly through the airline. And then I'll also go to like Expedia or Kiwi and look at the flights on there. Those are 2 other awesome websites. And another big thing when you're searching for flights if you have a Mac, I don't know what it is for Windows, but if you hit Command-Shift-4, it takes you to a private browser. That is like essential because I have watched flight prices go up literally right in front of me like 2 seconds later just because I'm searching flights a lot. So searching in a private window is so important, so that way you save all the money that you can. So after I book my flight, the next thing that I do is look at accommodation. So Airbnb is typically what I use because I really like to travel in groups. I'll use this trip that I just took to Colorado recently. We were driving there, so I knew that that was going to be pretty affordable, and I thought that I could get at least 6 people to go with me, so I found some really cheap Airbnbs, divided up the costs and everything, put together an estimate for food and everything, and then texted a bunch of people and was like, hey, do you want to go to Colorado? This is how much it's going to cost. And pretty much if I just find like really cheap lodging and make the trip really affordable, then people will usually go. So that's really awesome. I'm pretty good at convincing people to go on trips, if I must say so. But then if it's usually just like me or one other person, like if me and Lauren are going on a trip or me and Igor or something, then I'll look at Expedia or hotels.com to find a hotel because Airbnb is usually more expensive if you have just a couple people. Hotels.com is awesome because every 10 nights you stay, you get a free night, and so they have like a really good rewards program and it's free to sign up. So if you use hotels.com, definitely look into that because I pretty much got 10 nights really quick between going to Arizona and then going to Europe for 2 weeks. Next is Expedia. Again, you can look at flights on there as well as hotels. And then the next really cool thing that I recently found was escape camper vans. So if staying in a camper van is something you'd be open to, that is definitely something to check out if you're going to like LA, Seattle, Las Vegas area, Arizona, Utah. They have these really cool vans that you can rent, and there's like a bed in there, and then they have like a kitchen, and yeah, it's literally the coolest thing ever. And so it's super affordable, and it was like $230 for me and Igor to rent one for 4 days. So it was literally cheaper to do that than to rent a hotel, and that's like our transportation. So that's definitely something to look into, and that'll be so much fun and such a unique experience. I guess I kind of do this before I do everything else, or before like looking for a hotel, but if I know somebody who's living in the area that I'm going to, I'll usually like reach out to them and see if I can stay with them, just because I know a lot more people around the US now thanks to the military. So when I'm calculating the cost of a trip, some different things that I look at are how many people are going, how much transportation is going to cost, like are we going to be driving, are we going to be taking the subway, are we flying, are we going to be going out to eat a lot, food, are we going to buy groceries. So that's like something I look at when I'm booking Airbnbs. I always try and find places with a kitchen because cooking your food saves you so much money. And something I've discovered is more people than not want to go on trips with you. If you are someone who really wants to travel and you're like, oh, I can't afford it, my friends won't go with me, take the initiative to get on Google Flights, find a cheap flight. You can literally find flights from like under $150 all the time. Like I'm flying to LA for $122, and then look for a hotel, look for an Airbnb, and then add an additional $100 for food, and then just text all your friends and say, okay, it's gonna be $350 to go to Los Angeles for 5 days, and more likely than not, your friends are gonna say yes. Like if you put in all the planning and it's gonna be that affordable, then more likely than not, they're gonna wanna go with you. So let's say your trip to Los Angeles next month is gonna be $350. If you save $100 over the next 4 weeks, boom, there's your trip to Los Angeles, and you have extra spending money. So that's just kind of how I look at it, and I really just prioritize like, okay, do I really need like this new pair of shoes? Do I really need this new pair of jacket? Do I really need to go out to eat every single day? No. Pretty much after finding flights and hotels, then I go on to transportation and activities. So I kind of like look at those things combined, and I kind of figure out, okay, is it going to be really expensive to get a rental car, or do they have really good public transportation? And a lot of the big cities that you go to, they're gonna have awesome transportation, so that's really nice because you don't have to rent a car, and it's super cheap to ride the subway. And yeah, so then after I do that, I start to look at Pinterest, I watch YouTube videos, I look at blogs, and I just kind of find all the different cool things there are to do in that city. I try to find like a mix of different activities, like different things to do. So I'll use Los Angeles for an example. Like, I really like the downtown vibe, but then I also love going to the ocean and I love hiking, and so we kind of get like a good mix of both and kind of split it up. So I'm a big planner, so I like to kind of like plan out the itinerary. Pinterest is awesome when it comes to finding things to do. And another thing you can do is like post on Facebook or post on Instagram and be like, hey, I'm going to this city in a couple weeks or whatever, and just say that you're looking for recommendations, and people who have been there, they'll give you some really good ideas, or maybe, you know, people you follow are from different states, and so then they'll, you know, help you out with different things to do. So that's a really cool way to just find like unique and cool things to do in different cities. So I'm always like asking people for advice about what to do in different cities, because that's how you find all the cool things to do. That is kind of the process that I take to travel. I know it can be really intimidating, but basically you just need to look at flights and then look at hotels and then look at activities from there. Like, if you just kind of look at it from that process, then you're gonna figure out that there's actually some really cool, affordable places to go. So I know something that's really hard for a lot of people is saving money, and so I just wanted to go over just a couple things that I do personally when it comes to saving money. If you are like a college student, kind of like my age, and you, like, I'm doing online school, so there's no need for me to live in a dorm. I have an amazing relationship with my parents, and I'm lucky enough that, you know, they still let me live at home, and it's awesome. And so if you are someone who, you know, has the opportunity to live at home, take advantage of that for as long as you can, instead of like moving out and getting an apartment. Like, I know it's really exciting, but is it really worth paying the extra like $800 to $1,000 a month for rent when you could be using that on trips? Obviously, like, I get it if you move or whatever, like, I get it, not everyone can live at home forever, which I promise I'm not doing that, but definitely just take advantage of living at home as long as you can while you're young and while it's a lot easier to travel. The next biggest thing is going out to eat. I cook like 95% of my own food, and I also work at a restaurant, so I eat there a lot, which is really nice. Again, look at Pinterest. There's so many cool recipes you can find, and that is one of the biggest ways that you can save money. And another thing, like, I know, not hating on people who have Jewels or Enjoys, but if you spend $10 a week on your pods for your Enjoy or your Jewel or whatever, that's $40 a month, which translates into $480 a year. Like, $480 a year. That could literally have just translated into a trip to the beach or something. You know what I mean? So I just kind of look at everything that I spend like that. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I don't spend money on coffee. When I go out to eat, I don't really get drinks like pop or anything like that. Like, now that I'm 21, I feel like I spend a lot of money on alcohol when I go out to eat. And then like finding multiple streams of income. So like with my job, I get a paycheck and I get tips, and so putting one of those different forms of income into savings, that really makes a big difference, and it just helps build up your savings account. Lastly, I'm going to be talking about just some different trips that I went on this year and just kind of how much they cost. So I'm going to start with Europe, because that was like something I got so many questions on when I went. People were like, oh my gosh, how did you afford to do that? And honestly, it was extremely affordable for everything that we did. So my friend Miranda and I went to Europe for 2 weeks back in August, and we flew from the city that we live close to, which is usually a really expensive place to fly out of, and just by using Google Flights we ended up finding like $450 tickets to Europe, so we took full advantage of those. And so kind of the process we took to book that trip was, after we booked the flight, then I just kind of hopped on Google Flights and we flew into Germany, so I put Germany as like our starting place. And then like the next cheapest place to fly to from Germany was Paris. And that's basically how I did our entire trip, was I just looked at like where it was cheap to fly to, like from the different cities, and we just kind of based our trip off of there, because there were so many places you could go. I was like, I don't even know where to start. So that was just kind of how I did it. So we went to Frankfurt, Germany, Paris, France, Rome, Italy, the Amalfi Coast in Italy, and Milan, also in Italy. And we were there for 14 days, and it was freaking amazing. So the whole trip in total cost about $1,800, and that is including our flight there. So while we were there for 2 weeks, we spent about $1,400. So when you look at it, we were there for 14 days, so we spent about $100 a day. So the $100 went towards a place to sleep, getting around, food, and shopping, and different activities. I look at the things that I do when I'm back at home, and I can easily spend $100 in a day. Think, like, would you rather spend $100 a day in Kansas, or would you rather spend $100 a day in Europe? So that's definitely a really affordable trip, and I think it was a lot cheaper than people kind of expected it to be, just because we really did some amazing things while we were there. The next trip I'm going to talk about is this recent trip that I took to Colorado. So I went snowboarding while we were there, and I already have a snowboard and I have a season pass, and so like expenses for that I don't really pay for. So basically all we had to pay for was a place to stay and food, and it was $525 for 5 nights, and our Airbnb was so nice. We had a hot tub and it was really close to everything, so there was like a shuttle we could take all around the town in Breckenridge. So there's 5 of us that went, so the whole trip in total cost about $200 for 5 days. And that was with a place to stay, groceries, and that trip was super affordable. And then another trip, a little more expensive, but it was when I went to New York City back in October. There was 7 of us who went, and our Airbnb was $865. So it was like $125 a person for that for 5 nights, and it was really nice. But while we were there, we went to Rolling Loud, the music festival, and so that was like a really big chunk of our expense, because the concert ticket was $300. Even with the concert ticket and our Airbnb and gas, because we flew out of Dallas, which was like 5 hours for me, and food, it was still like a really affordable trip, and it was about $600–700, a little more than $100 a day, but you had to remember like $300 of that went towards the concert ticket. And then the last trip that I'm going to talk about is the road trip that my boyfriend and I took around Arizona and Utah for 10 days. That trip was about $550 between each of us, so it was about $50 a day, and we drove the whole entire time, and we camped, and we just had to pay for food. So now that I'm thinking about it, I really don't even know what all of our money went towards. I think it was mostly food. We spent a lot on food because we cooked a lot, and we're both military, so we don't have to pay to get into the national parks, which is really nice. But that was a really affordable trip, and let's say you were just to go on a 5-day road trip, like you could easily spend less than $200 a person to go on a 5-day road trip. Oh, and the last thing, credit cards. So I have a travel credit card. So I have like travel rewards card, and whenever I got it, it was like if you spent $3,000 in 3 months, then you got like a bonus 2,500 points, which translates into $250. That was really nice, and there's a lot of credit cards out there that do stuff like that, and I just get points for everything that I spend, and then I can use that credit for anything. So I just kind of have been building that credit up, and then hopefully I'll use it to buy like another plane ticket to Europe sometime next year. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really missed filming, and hopefully I can kind of get back into it more. But if you guys have any questions about traveling or anything, like, I would be more than happy to answer any questions you have, so just comment down below or DM me on one of my 17 Instagrams that I have. Something else that I really think would be really cool is planning a trip for somebody. So if that's something you'd be interested in, just message me, and I seriously love planning trips, so I'd love to help somebody out just kind of in that process. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.